Greetings, everyone. It's a very fine Friday here, the 25th of July, 2025. I'm back again to do another video on the teaching of prophecy. It is quite remarkable, shocking how few people are interested in prophecy at a time like this in our history. Even fewer people are interested in the book of Revelation in the Bible. That is just a fact. Just observing how people respond when people talk, or some talk about that very interesting topic, very interesting to me, very important. It's like almost a history lesson at school, where the students are bored or not interested in the past. Yet, as I've been teaching in this topic over the months, I've shown that Bible prophecy is alive. It's talking about things that we're experiencing today and into the future. Several biblical prophecies have been fulfilled. And I'm going to talk today about, this phenomenon. Why are people so disinterested in prophecy, and specifically biblical prophecy? One of the things that I've noticed is that most people are satisfied with the news, the newspapers, in more recent times, the television news, and social media news, not realizing that there's several things that are not true that is posted out to or given out to the general public from the media. And in the previous videos, I've made a point to illustrate the lies, or the mistruths, or the lack of truth, or the lack of information from the mainstream media. Be it as it may, you may believe it or you may not. But one of the reasons why I want to give an illustration why it's important not only to believe the mainstream media. It's because of what we've just experienced in recent years. During the 2020 to 22, there was a medical crisis in the world. And one of the things that was remarkable for me to observe was that people would stand in queues to go and receive the medical solution to that crisis. And there would be compliance with masks and taking the jabs, etc. And all because they believed the mainstream media. They discounted the information that other people were trying to warn them against. Some people were warning against these things. They were sharing information and under a great duress. And you might be wondering, why am I saying that? Let me remind you that during that time, people that were asking questions or were not in compliance were very much under duress. The means of communication, like social media, people that were trying to warn or to inform people, or even to show how they're asking questions and needed answers, were banned from social media platforms. They were shadow banned, they were fact checked, they were mocked, and they were ridiculed. And this is a fact that this type of thing has happened already. And that's the point I'm trying to illustrate, is that believing only in the mainstream media as a means to keep up to what's going on in society is a fallacy. It's a weakness, because they're not going to tell you all the truth and all give you all the relevant information. They have been captured in many cases, I would say most cases. It's very hard these days to get true news, and true news that is just news and not opinion making information like the mainstream media is busy with. And now, when we look at today, look at now, in recent months, people like myself and others who have been warning and asking questions are vindicated now. The so called conspiracy theorists, including myself, that some people would put me into that category, we find that those theories, conspiracy theories, are true. Um, there are a great many after effects for taking that medical solution, as shown in a previous video. Um, what we call V accidents. Some people and I highlighted the, the spike in cancer patients and cancer issues in recent times, cardiac issues, um, and I even in the one video illustrated this phenomenon of sudden deaths of healthy people that were fit and much fitter than most. The sports people were suddenly collapsing. And now we've indicated, because the truth is coming out, there's either two things here. Either they're allowing the truth to come out, we're referring to the authorities that control everything and the mainstream media, or it's a case of they cannot block anymore. They cannot block good enough or well enough to prevent the truth from coming out. And gradually now people are realizing, and there is remorse for having taken that medical solution. I also, in a very quite earlier on, gave a video where I talked about Revelations 13 verse 16, where it talks about He calls it all to take the mark, etc., etc. I might want to read it for you later on, but go and check it. Revelations 13:16. He calls it all. He forced all. Some Bibles would put there. And during those times, people were forced or caused to wear a mask out of fear or out of force to take the medical solution, the so-called thing. They caused them to do that. They forced them to do that. And they talked about a mandate and so on. So there's a pattern to this that is quite true. Then we'd ask, now coming back to the regional point, why then did the people comply so much in their numbers? It's out of ignorance. The ignorance was that they were satisfied with the newspaper version of reality. They were satisfied with the TV version of reality. They were even satisfied with what the authorities were saying that they must do. They complied. They were caused to take something that as we've indicated now, as there's accidents, there's after effects, there's even deaths. Even medical people were persuading, and pastors and priests were persuading people to take it because it's going to keep grandma and grandpa safe and you safe. So the moral of the story, ladies and gentlemen, is we cannot just trust the mainstream media and the information that's dished out to us. One of the problems with mankind today is that the general populace doesn't know or doesn't want to know that evil and wickedness exists to the level where people want to kill other people, want to harm people. We all got goodness in us, so that's the viewpoint, that there's no such thing as that form of evil and wickedness. But I can remind you of Auschwitz, Treblinka, those Dachau, Bergen-Belsen, those concentration camps in Nazi Germany in the Second World War, where people were en masse murdered because of what we call genocide. So there is evil, and people look normal on the outside. They wear clothes and they walk around as normal people, but they don't have that goodwill that everybody seems to accept, that human beings are good at heart. So they're secretly wicked and evil, and they seek to harm people, but with pretense. Now, that's why I say man is the top in the chain of the predators, because man can actually perpetrate a great evil, pretending and acting like he's good. So the Bible also has a term that says there's a way that seems right to a man, but the ends thereof is death. There's a way that seemeth, Old English, King James Version, there's a way that seemeth right for a man, to a man, but the ends thereof is death. Isn't that the case of what has actually happened? When we look at 2020 to 2022, it seemed right to everybody. But we're looking at the after effects, as I've listed. You know, it's all about trickery, which I've mentioned in another video. Sleight of hand, trickery. Remember Satan in the Bible, you know, when there's Adam and Eve there in the Garden of Eden. Genesis 3 verses 1 and Genesis 3 verses 4 to 6. Perhaps I should read it to you so that you can get the gist of what I'm trying to say to you. Genesis 3, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, had God said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And then drop your eye down further to verse 4. And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die, which means he's going to say more. For God does know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. So there's that carrot to lead on. There's gain to be got. Verse 6, and when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and that a tree to be desired to make one wise, there's the again, she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. There's many lessons there, but the point I want to make here is that trickery. The devil, Satan, tricked her by presenting the fact that there's gain to be got from taking an action, you know, and in the same way, that solution, that medical solution of 2020, there was gain to be got, because the gain was you'll gain protection against that scourge, that disease, and people believed it because the mainstream media told them that it is so. The authorities told them so. They were caused to believe something. They were bombarded with information of a certain slant. And when she took the fruit, it changed her from the inside. She changed physically and spiritually. On a spiritual level, I'm not going to read that part there of Revelations 3 further, that showed the punishments and the effects of that action. And now in 2025, before I just go on to that, the jab also changed people from inside. It's another lesson to talk about, spike protein and DNA at the cell level, etc. And of course, the mainstream media won't tell you this um, because you're not asking questions. You refuse to ask the question, and you ban or you debunk the people who ask questions of a relevant nature. And now in 2025, if I may go on, we see the effects of this action that was taken. As I listed the accidents, the certain diseases that are running rife in the community. We don't know about it unless we make an effort to find out all the cases, but the cases are many. Um, the number of funerals is spiking now. Um, just observe and take note. And to end this video, just to say to you, believe it or not, it's your choice. Have a great day further and a lovely weekend.